Okay, time to break down the first episode titled Cruelty from this seriously twisted anime called Demon Slayer. The show starts with Tanjiro Kamado, our hero, trudging through a freaking creepy forest with his sister Nezuko on his back. She's bleeding heavily, leaving red stains that mix in with his footprints. Talk about starting off on a not-so-jolly note, am I right? With each step, Tanjiro keeps reassuring his sis that he won't let her die. But dang, that forest seems to stretch on forever. We're barely a minute into the show, and it's clear that these siblings are in deep trouble. Now, some might argue, hey, we don't even know these characters yet. How do we know we should be rooting for them? And you know what? Fair point. Maybe Nezuko got herself injured while trying to steal candy from a baby, and the baby's mom wasn't having it, so she busted out a hatchet. It's possible, folks. But fear not, the writers have the tea and it's piping hot. Suddenly, the episode cuts to a peaceful, homey scene that clearly happened before all the chaos. It's morning, and Tanjiro is getting ready to take a load of charcoal to the city for some serious selling. His mom cleans the soot off his face, and his younger siblings are all up in his business, wanting to tag along. It's obvious they adore him and just want to spend time together. But Tanjiro, being the responsible bro he is, tells them to stay home and be safe. Such a family-oriented dude. Before leaving, his loving mom reminds him to be careful on his journey. Little does she know the horrors that await them all. While walking along the road, Tanjiro runs into his sister Nezuko, who's carrying their youngest sibling on her back. It's a heartwarming sight. Sadly, none of them have a clue about the darkness that lies ahead. As Tanjiro heads down the mountain, he starts reflecting on the fleeting nature of happiness. Deep stuff, my friends. And then he drops this oddly specific saying, whenever happiness is destroyed, there's always the smell of blood. Talk about ominous foreshadowing, right? Hold up, did anyone notice the insane amount of electrical wires overhead? I mean, I thought this anime was set in the pre-electricity era with the whole Taisho era vibes, but apparently, according to Manga Tokyo, electric power was already in play during that time. Score 1 for realism. Well, not that it matters much given what's about to go down. As Tanjiro roams the city, we learn a couple of important things. First off, everyone loves Tanjiro, because he's such a helpful dude. Second, this guy has a nose that could rival a bloodhound's. Seriously, his sense of smell is off the charts. He even proves it by solving the mystery of a broken plate, thereby saving a servant and pointing out the real bad guy. A cat. Talk about a handy skill. After successfully selling his wares, Tanjiro begins his journey back home to the mountaintop. However, he receives a chilling warning from a man named Mr. Sapporo. Demons, man-eating demons, are on the loose, making nighttime travel a dangerous undertaking. Mr. Sapporo advises Tanjiro to spend the night there and return home the next day. Here's where things go south. Remember that sense of smell. Remember his deep thoughts. Well, as Tanjiro gets closer to home, he catches a whiff of something sinister. And you better believe it, when he arrives, he finds utter carnage. Nezuko's fallen body trying to protect the baby and the rest of his family lying lifeless inside. The old man wasn't joking. Demons were real, they had invaded his home. Alright, now, I know I've been making light of it, but let's be clear, this scene is straight up horrifying. The way Tanjiro reacts to the carnage, the sheer horror in his eyes, that's some seriously effective storytelling right there. Ufotable, you got our attention. With trembling hands, he enters the house only to be met with the most horrifying scene imaginable. His entire family gone. The weight of the tragedy crushes him, leaving only Nezuko alive, but in a precarious state. In a desperate bid to save his sister, Tanjiro carries her to the nearest town, braving the freezing cold along the way, but fate's got more twists up its sleeve. As they stumble and fall from a low cliff, the snow cushions their landing. But that's when things get downright bizarre. Nezuko starts acting all weird and tries to take a bite out of Tanjiro. Unbelievable, right? It turns out his sister has become a demon herself. Talk about a shocking twist. Tanjiro's world is turned upside down as he tries to defend himself with just his trusty hatchet. But Nezuko's strength grows. She seems to almost double in size, pure muscle, leaving him powerless. The moment of discovery hits you right in the gut, with visuals and music that send shivers down your spine. Tanjiro's desperation to save his sister tugs at your heartstrings, leaving you in a whirlwind of emotions. While I was getting all emotional, out of nowhere, this random dude named Giyuu Tamioka shows up, wielding an enchanted sword like he's in an action movie. He straight up tries to slice and dice Nezuko. Luckily, Tanjiro's got those ninja reflexes and dodges the attack like a pro. Talk about a shocking encounter. Mr. Swordsman questions Tanjiro's motives, asking why he's defending the demon sis. Like, hello dude, she's his sister. Tanjiro spills the tea and spills it good. He explains that he knows she's become a demon, but family's family, you know. But dang, Giyuu is on another level of speed. He swiftly pulls Nezuko away and immobilizes her, holding her wrists tight. Tanjiro pleads for her life, explaining that she's not the one who killed his family. He detected another scent that was responsible. The poor guy just wants to protect his little sis. Unfortunately, it seems Giyuu is already well aware of that fact. Turns out, Nezuko's transformation into a demon is a result of her wounds coming into contact with demon blood. Yeah, that's how these creepy creatures procreate. Super gross, right? Tanjiro, being the nice guy he is, does what any good-hearted individual would do. He bows down and begs Giyuu not to harm his sister. But oh boy, Giyuu's reaction is off the charts. He gets furious and starts berating Tanjiro for groveling and giving his enemy a chance to kill him. This dude has serious issues with displays of weakness. In fact, he goes so far as to say that weak people are destined to be crushed by the strong. Ouch, harsh much. He's intense. And as much as I hate to admit it, Giyuu does have a point. We've seen what happens to those who can't protect themselves or don't have someone by their side. It's a tough truth to swallow. Here's where things get interesting. Here comes the first of 3 moments that hooked me. While pointing his sword at Tanjiro, tearing him down verbally, Giyuu's inner monologue reveals a moment of self-condemnation. He blames himself for not arriving half a day earlier, as he could have slain the demon before it harmed the defenseless family. Talk about some deep regret and emotional baggage. Now, brace yourselves for the second and third moments that hooked me, because they happen in rapid succession. Giyuu stabs Nezuko in the shoulder, triggering Tanjiro to spray into action. He hurls a stone at Giyuu, but this demon hunter ain't bothered. Our hero doesn't give up though. He starts running in circles, throwing another stone, and then he goes all out, charging at Giyuu. But the swordsman swiftly knocks him to the ground, rendering him unconscious. But wait, where's the hatchet that Tanjiro's been holding? Giyuu barely has time to realize the hatchet is missing before it comes spinning towards him. Luckily, he dodges it just in time. Giyuu has judged our boy Tanjiro, my friends. He isn't weak at all. He's got kindness flowing through his veins, and let me tell you, kindness is a different kind of strength. Giyuu's realization is priceless, and his expression says it all. Now, drumroll, please. For the third moment that stole the show, Nezuko, snarling with her fangs bared, positions herself in front of Tanjiro, but facing away from him. She's protecting him from Giyuu. Talk about sibling love with a fierce demon twist. After that chaotic encounter, Tanjiro wakes up, hearing his mother's voice from beyond the grave. Lo and behold, Nezuko is alive and well, but with a bamboo muzzle on her. It's a bizarre sight, but hey, at least they're both saved from certain doom. Giyuu spills the beans, telling Tanjiro to take Nezuko to Sajiri Mountain to find a man. With newfound hope, Tanjiro and Nezuko head back home to bury their fallen family members before embarking on their journey following Giyuu's directions. In a mix of grief and determination, they bid farewell to their past and brace themselves for the unknown future that lies ahead. Let's start by unraveling what went down in the last episode before we dive into today's. In the Taisho period, Tanjiro Kamado enjoyed a simple life in the mountains with his family, but that serenity got shattered when he returned from selling charcoal to find his family massacred by demons, with his sister Nezuko being the only survivor. There's no time to waste as Tanjiro rushes down the snowy mountain with Nezuko on his back, hoping to seek help. But things take a crazy turn when Nezuko suddenly goes all snarly and tries to attack Tanjiro.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
Following Giyuu Tamioka's suggestion, Tanjiro embarked on a journey towards Mount Sagura with his sister Nezuko. And that's where today's story picks up. And before I forget to mention, Nezuko did indeed attack Tanjiro at first, but later on, I kind of think she realized that he's her brother. So she ends up defending Tanjiro herself to Giyuu. So basically, Nezuko is a demon with the mind of a human.
Oh my god!
Back to today's story. On their way to Mount Sagura, Tanjiro tried to be a good Samaritan and asked a farmer if he could borrow his basket along with some straw and bamboo to fix it. The farmer, well, he played hard to get refusing any payment because of the basket's holes, but Tanjiro just wouldn't give up. It turned into this hilarious back and forth with the farmer practically giving the stuff away for free and Tanjiro insisting on paying, and then doing a sneaky coin ninja move into the farmer's hand before dashing off, leaving the poor farmer utterly confused. Tanjiro, you sly devil. You see, what really tickles my funny bone about this anime is how it started all dark and grim with the whole demon massacre thing. But now it's surprisingly light and fluffy, and honestly, I'm here for it. Tanjiro lets Nezuko hide in a nearby dirt tunnel, trying to avoid the sunlight. After fixing the basket, Tanjiro gently asks if she can fit inside, and I'm not so sure if she can understand him. But miraculously, Nezuko manages to squeeze herself into the basket, and Tanjiro secures it on his back. Now, I initially believed that Nezuko's condition might make her seem like a simple plot tool, but this episode shows she's much more. Even though she can't speak and her mind is not fully back, her gestures express love for her brother and a strong desire to communicate, and I personally think it's very adorable. Capable of carrying her safely from the sun, Tanjiro heads towards the mountain, seeking directions from a local woman. She warns him about recent disappearances and urges caution, and I think we all know where we're heading at this point. When night falls, Tanjiro and Nezuko come across a temple in the woods, and if you remember from the last episode, Tanjiro has a sharp sense of smell, and he catches a whiff of blood coming from the temple, and you probably guessed what happened next. Inside the temple, there's a man-eating demon. While we're still learning about these demons, they seem a lot like vampires. They look like humans, they are really tough to kill, and sunlight isn't their friend. But demon aside, did you notice how Nezuko's mouth watered when she saw the demon eating a person? It got me thinking, could she turn out like that too? Well, the short answer for that is a straight no, because in a matter of seconds, Nezuko unleashed an incredible kick on the demon attacking Tanjiro.
Oh my god! Wow!
So powerful that it practically blew its head off. At first, we all thought she had defeated it right, but then the demon's body tried to grab Tanjiro, so Nezuko had to kick the body away. And here's the kicker, the demon's severed head started talking and attacking Tanjiro. Meanwhile, its body was tossing Nezuko into the deep dark forest. So now, Tanjiro is left alone with his head demon, and at this point, I'm kinda expecting Tanjiro to unleash some secret power, you know, like most main characters would, but nope, he just goes ahead and headbutts the demon's head. I mean, seriously, what kind of skull does Tanjiro have that even impresses the demon? Go Tanjiro. Tanjiro quickly realizes that headbutting the demon won't do the trick, so instead, he improvises and hurls the demon's head at a nearby tree. You might remember that the demon's hair got tangled in Tanjiro's hatchet earlier, so he's pretty much stuck there now. With one problem solved, he rushes to find Nezuko. Near the edge of a cliff, he discovers the demon's body attempting to kick Nezuko off it. Tanjiro doesn't waste a moment. He immediately tackles the body, and both of them end up tumbling over the edge. Fortunately, Nezuko grabs hold of her brother just in the nick of time, preventing him from crashing onto the rocks below. Meanwhile, the demon's separated head, which is all alone now, gets knocked out from the pain of its body's fall. Now there's one more issue to deal with. Armed with a knife, Tanjiro returns to the unconscious demon's head, ready for a slice and dice party. He knows it might save others, but he's unsure about giving the demon a headache. Come on, Tanjiro. You've got to deal with that demon's noggin or it could come back to bite you. But he's very hesitant, and it's taking him quite a while when suddenly a mysterious man appears behind him. At first, I really thought it might be another demon, and my heartbeat did. Cha-cha. But it turns out to be just a man wearing a mask. This masked man tells Tanjiro that using a knife won't cut it and points to a nearby rock. So Tanjiro has no choice but to use the rock to knock out the demon's head. However, he freezes at that moment, not sure what to do. My man is really kind even to the demon kind. At this point, the masked man gets a whiff of Tanjiro's scent and thinks he's too nice to harm even demons. It took him so long that the demon wakes up and tries to give Tanjiro a cannibalistic high five, but right then the sun starts rising and it turns into a hot mess of ashes. Tanjiro figures out that even a little bit of sunshine is like a vampire's nightmare for demons.
NANI?!
So he zooms off to find Nezuko and discovers her chilling in a basket in the temple, away from the sunlight. I find it really cool that Nezuko isn't a damsel in distress here. She's more like a demon in shining armor, sometimes rescuing Tanjiro. After dealing with the aftermath of the demon's rampage, the man in the mask introduces himself as Sakanji Urokodaki. He figures out that Tanjiro is the boy Giyuu had sent to him. Tanjiro tries to introduce himself and Nezuko, but Sakanji interrupts, asking Tanjiro what he would do if Nezuko ever caused harm. My man Tanjiro is flabbergasted by the question and can't find the words. Honestly, if I were him, I'd be more lost than a cat at a dog show, especially after that fight with a demon. Sakanji slaps him hard and gives him a stern scolding for his slow reaction and hesitation. Sakanji emphasizes that if Nezuko were to harm someone, it would be Tanjiro's duty to stop and kill her. He makes it clear that this is the harsh reality of traveling with a sister who was turned into a demon. Geez, this old man is stricter than an old librarian shushing a noisy book reader.
Daddy, chill.
Now fully aware of the gravity of the situation, Tanjiro accepts this heavy responsibility. Sakanji decides to test him to see if he's fit to join the Demon Slayer Corps. And you know it's going to be intense. The test is simple yet challenging. Tanjiro has to carry Nezuko and follow Sakanji. In the middle of the day, Tanjiro chases after Sakanji, who moves faster than a squirrel on a caffeine high and leaves almost no trace of footsteps. Tanjiro struggles to keep up but apologizes to Nezuko for the bumpy ride in the basket, reassuring her that patience is her best friend. I wonder how Nezuko manages to stay so calm during all of this. As the sun begins to set, an exhausted Tanjiro finally reaches Sakanji's house at the mountain's base. He's gasping for breath and asks if he passed the test. Sakanji responds cryptically, saying that the real test will now begin and they will climb the mountain. This leaves Tanjiro in complete disbelief. I really find it funny how he reacts, especially after the emotional and intense scenes earlier. This show knows how to mix emotions and humor. With Nezuko safely resting in his hut, Sakanji and Tanjiro embark on their uphill journey to know if Tanjiro's worth entering the Demon Slayer Corps. I now kinda understand why the title is like that. While we don't know much about them, it must be an organization dealing with the demon plague. Back to the challenge, and Tanjiro's still feeling the burn from his earlier sprint, and now he's got the added bonus of dizziness. Out of nowhere, Sakanji puts on the brakes and tells Tanjiro to hustle down the mountain before dawn. And just like that, Sakanji disappears into thin air. Tanjiro's initial shock quickly turns into determination. He believes his keen sense of smell will guide him safely down the mountain before daybreak. I mean, he's just taken down a demon. What could possibly go wrong? As Tanjiro dashes down the peak, his optimism takes a nosedive as he discovers that the mountain is riddled with traps. After taking a few knocks from these traps, he realizes that continuing this way will only lead to more injuries, and the thin mountain air isn't doing his breathing any favors. Before starting his descent down Mount Sagira, Tanjiro takes a deep breath, trying to regain his composure and isolate the sense of the mountain. With a clearer path in mind, he begins his descent, skillfully avoiding most of the traps. I can clearly see how determined Tanjiro is. After that wild ride through traps and being thrown around, he finally reaches the base of the mountain before sunrise. This is where Sakanji realizes that this boy might be the successor he's been waiting for. I don't know about you, but now I understand why Demon Slayer is getting so much hype. It could easily compete with the best shonen anime out there. If you followed my previous videos, you're probably up to speed on the fact that in the last episode, Tanjiro found his sister had turned into a demon. But here's the kicker. She's not your run-of-the-mill demon because she hasn't chocked on any humans. Luckily, Tanjiro has crossed paths with a guy who might teach him the art of demon slaying, or perhaps even how to cure his sis. I don't really know, but we're about to find out. Before our boy Tanjiro embarks on his epic demon slaying quest, he decides to do something heartwarming. He creates a journal to record all his training, in case his sister Nezuko wakes up one day and wants to catch up on what she missed. Can I just say that these are some serious sibling goals right here? As he gazes at her, you can practically feel the concern oozing from the screen. Sakanji then gives the green light for Tanjiro to start his hardcore training. Now in this episode, we're taking a peek behind the curtain, unveiling some of the mysteries of the demon slaying world. We're introduced to the Demon Slayer Corps, this cool group with a few hundred members. They're like the ninjas of the demon slaying world, operating in the shadows, and they don't seem to have a clear leader. Now here's where I put on my detective hat. I've got a hunch that Tanjiro might just step up to that leadership plate in the future. These demon slaying pros have been at it for centuries. They've been fighting demons since way back when, they're still at it today. And don't get me started on the demons themselves. These creatures are like walking riddles. They can pull off all sorts of supernatural stunts, from healing to regeneration and even shape-shifting. But here's the catch, they're basically allergic to sunlight and need some special blades to meet their maker. So the Demon Slayer Corps might be the underdogs, but they're the last line of defense for humanity against these supernatural baddies.
She a baddie, she knows she a 10.
It's like a never-ending showdown between good and evil, and I'm here for it. Alright, enough of me rambling. Back to Tanjiro's training saga. Sakanji starts dropping some truth bombs, revealing that Tanjiro's got to go through the final selection on Mount Fujikasena. But guess what? Sakanji's got the final say on whether he's got what it takes. So after days of mountain adventures, Tanjiro's become a real pro at dodging traps thanks to his beast mode strength and sniffing skills. But hey, the training wheels come off and Sakanji's like, let's make this harder, shall we? Now the traps are laced with knives and spikes because nothing says welcome to demon slaying like potential tetanus. The next part is when they hand Tanjiro a sword, and surprisingly, the sword messes up his groove and he's back to getting tangled in traps. It's like watching someone learning to ride a bike without the training wheels, but with a bit more stabbing involved. I feel your pain, Tanjiro. Swords and traps are not the best combo. Now it's blade boot camp time. Tanjiro learns some sword basics. According to Sakanji, the sword is strong vertically, but weak horizontally. Sakanji demonstrates the right way to cut, adding some serious threats if Tanjiro messes up. There's also a slaptastic session where Tanjiro gets a lesson in getting up fast after a fall. Then Sakanji gives him the task of charging with a sword. Spoiler alert, he gets a one-way ticket to Flipsville. Next up, Tanjiro gets a crash course in total concentration breathing and the promise of mastering 10 forms of water breathing. But the breathing lesson doesn't go smoothly. Tanjiro gets a belly slap for his wrong technique. Actually, he gets several. But wait, there's more. Sakanji hits him with some wisdom of becoming one with the water.
Be water, my friend.
And what's the best way to become water? A cliff dive into an icy river, of course. I gotta say the animation here adds a sprinkle of humor to the intense training. Even in the most serious moments, there's room for a laugh. And it certainly had me laughing. Fast forward to 6 months and Nezuko's still in dreamland. Tanjiro's got his worries and they're valid. I mean, she's been sleeping like a log. Sakanji even summoned a doc for a checkup, but no dice. Tanjiro's got his daily dose of worry for her, but he's got no idea what the future holds. And now he's wrapping up his final climb and descent of Mount Sagira, and I bet that the traps don't stand a chance this time. Out of the blue, Sakanji drops a bombshell on Tanjiro saying he can't teach him anymore, and it's time for Tanjiro to go solo in his journey to success. They venture into the forest and find a massive boulder with fancy symbols. Sakanji drops another bomb, saying Tanjiro can only join the final selection if he can chop that boulder in half. Yes, you heard that right. Chop the freaking boulder in half. But before he can utter a word, Sakanji pulls a vanishing act that make Houdini proud. If this were a magic show, I'd expect a puff of smoke and a magician in a top hat. Now Tanjiro steps up ready to slice and dice that big rock. But his first attempt is a total flop. So he decides to do some DIY training. He dusts off his memory, remembers everything Sakanji taught him, and starts building himself up. It's like a superhero training montage, but with more sweat and less cool music. He's at it for 6 months
later,
trying and failing to chop that stubborn boulder. His hands are as rough as sandpaper from all the sword swinging. After all this time with no progress, Tanjiro is about to give up and scream his frustration to the forest. But surprise, a mysterious swordsman appears perched on the boulder wearing a fox mask. This ninja-looking guy tells Tanjiro to stop whining. Our hero is just stunned by the unexpected visitor. And then the battle begins, almost like a scene from a martial arts movie. The masked sensei moves with lightning speed, and Tanjiro's sword feels like a twig against a fortress wall. When the ninja mentor tells Tanjiro to strike, and Tanjiro hesitates because he's got a real sword while the ninja wields wood, I can't help but sense the challenge in the air. But here's the real twist. The ninja mentor points out that Tanjiro's knowledge is theoretical, particularly in the breathing techniques. It's like realizing you've read all the recipes in a cookbook, but never actually cooked a meal. As the ninja continues his relentless attacks, he imparts the wisdom to Tanjiro that he must carve these lessons into his very soul. And Tanjiro's heartfelt admission that he's been trying tirelessly without much progress tugs at the heartstrings. The swordsman commands Tanjiro to take another swing at him, and Tanjiro charges forward with all the energy he can muster. But the swordsman moves like a ninja, dodging Tanjiro's attack with the grace of a seasoned dancer. In the blink of an eye, the swordsman's blade connects with Tanjiro's chin, and our hero is out like a light. But hold on, the story doesn't end there. Just when things seem bleak, a young girl enters the scene like a gentle breeze in the forest. When Tanjiro finally wakes up, the concerned girl is there asking if he's okay. Tanjiro, who's still a bit dazed from the blow, shares the incredible strike he suffered at the hands of the swordsman. He dreams of gaining that kind of power, and the girl responds with a comforting smile, assuring him that she'll help him achieve it. Oh, by the way, her name is Makomo. Looks like the start of a beautiful friendship in the midst of a ninja training camp. I'm rooting for these two. As Tanjiro's training progresses, Makomo takes on the role of a patient and nurturing mentor, Kind of like Yoda in Star Wars, but without the wrinkles. She helps Tanjiro correct his mistakes and guides him toward perfection. Curious about her background, Tanjiro asks her, but all he gets is silence. She does reveal that she and her buddy Sabito had deep affection for their mentor, Sakanji. Turns out that Makomo and Sabito were orphaned and Sakanji raised them as his own. And Makomo hints that there are others like them, always watching over Tanjiro. It's kind of mysterious, but also oddly reassuring. Although in this episode we didn't get much background information about them, I hope that we can get it in the next episodes because boy, I'm intrigued. Makomo also explained the total concentration breathing. The key, expanding lung capacity to flood the body with air and make muscles and bones super strong. It's not easy to grasp, but it's worth it. Makomo's advice is simple yet profound: train to death. Seriously, girl. Train until you drop. Tanjiro might lose it all before he even gets a chance to fight a demon. As the training goes on, Tanjiro works really hard to make his lungs stronger. He's swinging his sword and pushing himself to the limit, and it's not easy. Each time he practices with Sabito, it's like trying to catch a super fast ghost. Time flies, and after another 6 months, it's time for the big showdown. The tension is building, just like in the climax of an exciting battle. You can almost feel the excitement in the air. Tanjiro is all set for the face-off with Sabito. You could tell he's super ready because he didn't even bother getting a haircut for a whole 6 months. I mean, look at that hair. He knows that in a direct fight, the person who's stronger and faster usually comes out on top. The sword fight is like a nail-biting championship match in a sports movie. And guess what? It's Tanjiro who scores the winning hit. Tanjiro's sword slices through Sabito's mask, revealing a big smile on the swordsman's face. It's a moment of pure victory, like a scene from a hero's journey. Makomo sees it all with a gentle smile on her own face. And with that, both Makomo and Sabito disappear into the mysterious forest mist, leaving Tanjiro to think about his newfound strength. He looks at his sword and realizes that he didn't just cut Sabito's mask. He sliced the huge boulder in half. It's like an unexpected twist in a superhero story, and you can't wait to see what comes next. Before we dive into uncovering the mysteries, let's chat about the amazing episode we just watched. While there weren't any demons to be fought in Demon Slayer Episode 3, it certainly sets the stage for some exciting action ahead. Now it's time to unravel the identities of Sabito and Makomo. Can't help but wonder if Sabito and Makomo are more than just products of Tanjiro's imagination. The fight choreography is superb and Sabito completely outmaneuvers Tanjiro. Makomo seems much younger than Tanjiro or Sabito. I guess her age is around Nezuko's, almost 14, if not younger. Despite her youth, she appears to be well-versed in Orokodaki's teachings. She reveals that Orokodaki took her and Sabito and when they were kids and taught them everything he knows. There are a few reasons to suspect that Orokodaki's orphans might not be real. They show up at Tanjiro's lowest moments, which is quite convenient for his emotional recovery. Their eyes look different from Tanjiro's, and there's a hazy, dreamlike quality to their appearance. Strangely, they vanish into thin air after Tanjiro's success. The biggest red flag that they might not be real is when Tanjiro slices Sabito's mask and the boulder in a single stroke, unknowingly. Setting aside the characters, the animation in this episode is top-notch, and the opening theme is simply put, fantastic. Hey, still watching? Make sure to subscribe and smash that like button for a regular dose of awesome anime content. To be honest, I'm just as puzzled as you are about why Sabito turned into a rock. Is there some sort of magic at play here? It's truly mind-boggling, and we'll hopefully uncover the mystery by the end of this video. So stick around for the answers.